We are chatting with Sydney today. Sydney is a former Family Source surrogate and team ambassador with our agency. Thank you so much for your time today, and we are so excited to hear about your very first surrogacy journey. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Sydney, and you can tell us about your whole journey.
Right. Well, thank you very much for having me. I started with Family Source in 2018 in the summer. Susan Taylor was the one who started talking to me, getting me through the handling process. And then I started the matchmaking process. I think it was around probably August, October. And then that's when I found my family that chose me, and we basically was that wonderful mutual. We found everything that pretty much checked all those boxes that we wanted. So we matched in personality, and even though they were international IPs, it was still, we were able to still communicate, even though our language was not the same. We were still able to communicate, and it was still nice that everything from two different cultures, we still were actually compatible. So that was really awesome. We matched on like our faith-based, our personalities, our sense of humor, and they just loved how my husband and I had fit together, and they loved that we just all were able to get along. They loved that they had, 2 children already. They wanted to complete their family, and so they loved that, our children were similar ages, similar likes, and so it was definitely fun, even though we had never met in person, that we were just so comfortable with one another. So we started that process in 2018. And I mean, for me, on a personal note, it was wonderful after we did the psych evaluation, when the psychiatrist was like, you are just made for surrogacy, your heart is genuine, you just want to do this to help somebody, you're not in it for the so-called money-making aspect of it, or, you just wanting to be there helping. And for me, everyone would always be like the stereotype of, oh, you're just going to get attached to it. It's your child. How can you give this up? And it's like, it's not my child. I'm just, as my son, who's now 8, at the time he was 6, he was like, you're just the incubator, Mom. You're the walking, talking, breathing incubator. So I'm like, okay, when a 6-year-old's able to understand that this child is not coming home, he's not getting a new sibling, which he was very relieved. And at the same time, connecting the dot that I was just the incubator. Now, some background on that. My husband has raised birds since he was probably 10 or 12. So, he's had 30 years of experience dealing with bird raising and incubation and doing all of that. So my son has seen that through the years. Oh, here's an incubator. We put it down, we put the eggs in, we watch for so many 21 days, and we see babies pop out of the eggs. So it's like he just kind of thought already, this is what's going to happen, but it's going to be like 9 months because that's how long it took for his sister. So it was just the perfect way of having that relief for me, knowing that my children were already like, okay, this child isn't ours, and you just get to raise it in the sense of you're just taking care of it. You're being its little home right now, and then it's gonna go, like that child's gonna go somewhere. So for me, that was when my husband and I were like, okay, this is good. The kids are understanding, we'll continue moving forward. For us personally, with our faith, I had to lean on God for me in that sense. With us, we had some family losses that tragically happened in 2018, and my IPs were so genuinely understanding, and they said, we found you and we're not letting you go, so you take your time, you heal, you mourn, and we will be here waiting for you. So in January, I said, okay, let's start this, let's get the ball rolling again. And that was when my medical screening happened, and you finally get that call and you're like, okay, I passed, now what's next? So then on top of using the sounding board of the Facebook group that we have as surrogates, asking, what did you guys want in your journey? What did you forget to add? What did you realize afterwards? And taking all of that information and then fashioning a contract that wasn't just the copy paste, because I just have to say, you don't speed through that. You reread it, because there's so many things of an A or an and or an can sit there and change so many things, the way it's worded and the way it means, that to somebody who's not a lawyer, you have no idea.
Right.
So it was nice for me that I said, okay, I have some friends that I know that have dealt with contracts. I'm going to ask them a sounding board. But then after that, it was like, once that clinic gave me all of the information, all of the medication, that was just like when it was like, oh my gosh, this is real, this is happening. For me, I was grateful. I had a friend who was just like, let's do this. I'm going to help you. I think this is wonderful. So having that support team around you who feels that way was so good for us. Like during the actual journey and toward the end, it got a little crazy. And I know that sometimes journeys are not always how you want them to be or how you think that they're this picture perfect. For us, I was thankful that my transfer, the first transfer, was a one and done. I was able to carry that one all the way through. Had no complications with my my pregnancy throughout the entire time. I was fine. And I mean, I was overall completely healthy. So that was part that was nice. But those were some little curveballs that got thrown in. And then I know for us, I know right now with everybody's new journey that's starting with this whole COVID and the new restrictions and stuff of trying to be like, well, how is the international parents going to get here? Who's going to take care of the child? What's all that happening? I mean, for us, I finished mine before even the COVID restrictions even became a thing. But for us, our IPs had problems with their passport or their visa being accepted again or something of that nature. So they ended up having to get a temporary guardian assigned by the courts that they knew. She flew from Florida to San Diego to stay here for the 3-4 weeks while like a week before I was given birth, and then 3 weeks after, and then took the child after all the paperwork was cleared to where the family was in an in-between location. Like being able to see the mom who had really always hard time communicating with me, take that energy, take that time to just thank me on the phone, video call, telling me thank you for fulfilling her dream. Thank you for bringing her miracle to fruition. It was just so wonderful. I think we were all crying. But I mean, it was just wonderful to have that completed part, even though it wasn't them in person. It was still able to see their faces, see their joy just light up the room. And it was just wonderful in that sense. And even though, like I said, it wasn't how I would have wanted it, it was still a perfect way to end it. And
what were your feelings the moment you gave birth? That you said the parents were not there, but what were your feelings the moment you gave birth and knowing that this child is going to its family really soon?
Well, the first thought I thought, oh my goodness, relief, because she was so big. She was out. So for me, when I just had her on my chest, it was just like, oh my goodness, like you're finally here. Like I finally get to see, I finally get to count your fingers. I finally get to count your toes. I get to see your little nose. And so for me, it was just like that. It was that overwhelming joy that I did this. Like I was able to help a family do something so amazing that even though I've had 2 of my own, and that joy and oh my goodness, this child is mine, it's a different feeling when it's someone else's. It's just that satisfaction and joy that you have done something. Like I always see everyone's like, oh, you're a superwoman. It's like you really at that point you feel like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I did this.
Right.
But at the same time, you're like, I wouldn't have been able to do this without that support team, without the rest of the people to help me when I couldn't do it. I had someone else to help pick up that slack. So for me, that was where it was. It was just that joy, that feeling thankful, that just overwhelming. And even to this day, everyone's like, well, how do you feel about this? And I'm like, I just feel joy. Like it's hard to explain, but it's just, I felt happy. I felt content. I felt joy that I did something and I helped a family. I didn't feel like I was giving a piece of me away. I felt like the entire time I'd always, carry her. I'd always talk to her about her parents, and that you've got, siblings waiting for you and they can't wait to meet you. And so for me, I would always just do it that way. I knew she was never mine.
Right.
I always knew that, okay, she's here for 9 months. I'm her caretaker. I'm just her guardian for 9 months. And then after that, her parents get a love on her and raise her and watch her grow. And if they want to have me be a part of that and see her or all that, then that's their decision. But my job right now is just at that moment to keep her safe while she's growing. And so,
what advice would you give future surrogates who are just weeks away from delivering?
Oh, I feel like for me it was just enjoy it. I don't know if you're going to do another journey, but enjoy it. I mean, you have just those few weeks left, and those are those precious moments. That's when that little one is kicking like crazy and moving. And if you can get it on video, then do it, because sometimes when you want to reminisce or you want to be able to pass something to the family, you can try to do that little video and you can try to send that off to them. And then when you're packing that hospital bag, you don't have to sit there and pack it like, oh, I got to pack a 3-month onesie, or I got to pack a 6-month onesie, or what am I doing? You sit there and pack the stuff that you need, that's going to make you comfortable, that's going to make your husband or the helper that you've got there with you more comfortable. And definitely lean on that Facebook group for the surrogates. If you can't meet in person with other surrogates, lean on that. They're going to help you. And if one didn't go through it, somebody else did. I mean, that is the part to me that I have to say really did. And watch your body. And if something's not right with your body, don't be afraid to not say something or not go, because it could be something that could be end up worse, or it could be nothing. So it's always one of those things that I think a lot of people always freak out, like, oh, I don't want to go to the hospital because of XYZ. Well, if there's something wrong, your body's going to be the first thing that starts telling you. And then if you're the one that's going to be able to say, I think I should, I don't think I should, having that team and that support of who, and just having your own little personal things that you want to wear and you want to have with you after delivery is what was really nice for me.